Hi, this is Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville, with my third episode of Kibbitzing with Kagan, when I have a chat with interesting people. Today's guest is Circuit Court Judge Bibi Berry. She served as a family magistrate appointed in 2017, and then in 2019 was appointed to the Circuit Court bench. She is on the ballot this year in November as part of the slate of sitting judges. Judge Berry, thank you so much. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you for inviting me. This is wonderful.
Absolutely.
Very often. So.
You'll do great. So why don't you start by telling us a bit of your background? You grew up in DC, moved to Maryland. You graduated from Howard University. Your background is in psychology. Give us a bit of your journey.
Oh, yes. So I did graduate from Howard University. When I graduated, I was actually pregnant with my daughter, my only child. And the reason that's really important for my journey is because I think that I never would have gotten into the law if it weren't for her, if it weren't for the need to support this child. And so when I left Howard, I immediately went into a program at Georgetown, the undergrad program, to learn how to be a legal assistant paralegal. And then I got a job that year. My daughter was an infant at that time as a paralegal. And then, this was in Washington, D.C. It was at Arnold Porter. They're paying their attorneys a lot of money. And these new attorneys are coming in who don't know. You don't know anything when you graduate. And so that's really what watching these attorneys come in and realizing I was already doing case management and document management and a lot of the important things you need for litigation support. And so I said, once I got to a point where I felt comfortable that I could put myself through law school, I did that. I worked full time during the day. They had a daycare center right at in the basement, which was wonderful. And so my daughter was able to go there.
So then you decided to apply to the bench. You had some friends and colleagues encourage you. Talk about the vetting process. One of the words that we hear all the time, the sitting judges, is they've been vetted. So talk about what that process was like. You don't just apply for a job and get picked.
No. That was one of the most difficult processes I've ever had in my career. I think it might be the most difficult because I'm having trouble thinking of something that took as much time or energy. So the vetting process starts with filling out an application. The application is online. Anyone can see the application before it's filled out. Once you complete that, it's about 25, 30 pages, depending on how much you have to put in it. For me, it was probably about 30 pages or so. And then it includes 2 writing samples that you also need to submit and your references. And so you submit that to the Governor's Trial Court's Nominating Commission, and then you give permission for them to provide that application to all of the bar associations that are also doing vetting, and they do.
Give us an idea, all the bar associations. Why don't you give us a short list of those, because I know there are a lot of them.
Sure. Yes, it's about 13. It includes the 3 Black bar associations, which is the J. Franklin Bourne Bar Association, Monumental, and the Alliance of Black Women, the Women's Bar Association, the Hispanic Bar Association, the Asian Pacific American Bar Association, Sobolov Society, which is the Jewish Bar Association, the Defendant Bar as well, the Bar Association for Montgomery County, of course.
And all of these groups, Judge, review your application, and they also, some of them interview you in person, right? Or online now, or whatever that is.
Right. Well, this is before COVID hit, so most of the interviews were in person, and a lot of them were in the county, but you also need to be prepared to go out of county as well. It really is up to the folks that are doing the interviews as to how they want it to go. I had interviews over the phone. I had to go to Baltimore for an interview. Most of them were in person, and they don't just contact the people that are on your reference list. In fact, they might contact those folks, but they're contacting their who might have some information about you, including
And
the
so
judges.
it's anything from your legal background to your personal character, right?
Absolutely. It is anything and everything. And one thing I say is that this process really does rub you raw, because you have to open yourself up to everything, bar complaints, any complaints of litigants that have worked with you or other people that have worked with you, anything the judges who see you have to say, people who
Right.
cases against you, what they have to say. It is pretty
It's
extensive.
rigorous. Yep. So what do you like best and least about being a judge?
Well, I'll tell you what I like best about it. For me, it's, in 2017, when I decided to do this, it really was, for me, it was sparked by a number of things, but one of them was the death of my father. And when my father died, I really had this sense of, I just need to, I want to create a legacy. I need to do more for my community. I need to do more that's going to leave a lasting impression. And so what I love about this job is that I get to do exactly what I set out to do, which is make an impression. And I think that I'm doing that. And all of the skills that I've gained over the years really sort of compiled into like the perfect job, really. So I love it. And because I love it, I'm good at it, I think. And it's
Nice.
one of the first that I've really felt so comfortable in. What I don't like probably is that I came from private practice where you could set your own schedule.
Yes.
You want it when you want it, as long as you got your work done. It's a little bit different here. I'm on the schedule of the people, and that's fine. I have to do that, but it was an adjustment, I'll tell you that much.
Sure. So let's talk about the sitting judges, if we could. You are running with a slate. There are 4 of you. Why don't you talk about the process a little bit briefly about your colleagues on the slate and why the principle of the sitting judges is important to you?
Well, the principle of the sitting judges is just that you need to have judges who are vetted, who have background checks, who are peer reviewed. You don't want to put judges on the bench who have not been tested and gotten through that test. That's why it's so important, because these folks, we are making really, really important decisions for people, decisions that are going to impact their lives, whether they're going to actually be in jail or not, whether they're going to get drug treatment or not, who the custody of children is going to go to. These are major decisions. And so I can't imagine why you would want to put a judge on the bench who hasn't cleared the extensive vetting that I'm talking about with these multiple groups. So that's why it's so important. I support the other judges in part because I believe in that process. I was a part of that process when I was on the Judicial Selections Committee. I was also on the Trial Courts Nominating Commission, so I understand how hard these volunteers work to make sure that we have quality judges, and I respect that process. But I also really like the judges that I'm on a slate with. They're good people, they work hard, they're smart people, and they're the exact type of people that should be in this position. And that's why.
To say their names, so we're talking about Judge David Boynton, Judge Chris Fogelman, and David McCullough. Okay.
Yes.
So one of the complaints that I hear is about, or concerns, is about the diversity of the bench. So obviously you are a woman of color, but the other 3 that you're running with are middle-aged or older white guys. Can you talk about the diversity of the circuit court and whether that's an argument you think has some merit?
Absolutely, and I 100% agree that we have to try to ensure that our bench is diverse as possible and that represents the community, because I myself have experienced when people, particularly people of color, see me there, you can see how proud they are. You can see what it means to them. So diversity is very important. I think the governor has made that a priority. And when you look at the appointments, you're looking at district and circuit appointments. He has appointed 1/3 of appointments have been of color. More than 50% have been women. We're taking over these.
All right, it's about time. We're gaining in the Senate too.
I'm not mad.
So there's some confusion, a Hogan judge versus an O'Malley judge versus an Ehrlich judge or whatever. Are there Democratic and Republican judges? Can you just explain about the partisanship? Because you guys are nonpartisan and are on the ballot for both Democrats and Republicans in the primary and the general.
Yes, we're nonpartisan. I can tell you that I was never asked at one point what my political affiliation is in any of the interviews, including with the governor. And that really is because political affiliation doesn't mean anything when it comes to whether or not you are going to apply the law, whether or not you're going to be kind to people, whether or not you're going to have a good temperament, be on time, and all these things that are just really important. I don't know what the judges on the bench, what their political affiliation is. I don't get into politics with them anyway. There may be a few I know, and I can tell you that, I know that there are Democrats and Republicans and independents on the bench.
Right.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Great. So before we get to the Fast Five, I want to ask you to just reflect on Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's legacy for you. What case, what issues, what symbolism, in what way did you acknowledge or reflect on her passing or her legacy?
So I was going to say I'll tell a secret, but I guess it's not a secret if I'm telling. I was out to dinner with my significant other when I found out she died, and I cried. And I cried.
So did I.
And probably embarrassed him, but that was okay because it was such a huge loss. I think, whatever your affiliation is, this is a woman who has done so much for women and so much for marginalized populations, and just an icon, just a huge, huge person. And so I felt that loss, and I still feel that loss of her. I mean, the reason I'm here is in part because of her, and I appreciate that. I respect that, and I think there are many, many, many women out there, including many women close to me, who felt the same way. It was heartbreaking.
Agreed. Well, Judge Berry, I have 5 questions for you that will help folks get to know a little bit more about you. I call them the Fast Five. So question 1, what do you read when you're not reading cases? What's your sort of brain time off that you enjoy reading?
When I'm not reading cases?
You're not reading cases. Is there such a thing?
Well, lately it's been a lot of nonfiction about history of Black people in America. I'm pretty involved in Racial Justice Council and the Equal Justice Committee, and so I've engrossed myself in that.
That's great. Who have been some of your legal or judicial inspirations? We've talked about Justice Ginsburg. Is there anyone else that you want to mention who has inspired you?
In the law outside of my court?
Wherever you say.
Well, I'm inspired by a bunch of folks in my courthouse. I hesitate to list names because then I'll be called for the names I didn't list.
That's fair. All right, I'll give you a pass on that one. When we can safely travel again anywhere, where would you like to go?
I would have said North Carolina. My grandmother just died, so probably Massachusetts, where my fiance's parents live. That's where I want to go first because we haven't seen them I haven't seen them in quite some time.
Got it. Boy, he just went from your significant other to your fiance. Congratulations.
Yeah. I had to get away from boyfriend, so I used
right. There you go.
Interchangeably.
What do you miss most during this pandemic?
I miss hugging people without feeling danger when you
Yeah, yeah, that's a good answer.
yeah, the get-togethers and just touching. It's something to be said about the power of being able to touch each other. So yeah.
Agreed. Last question. What is your superpower? What is a hidden talent you're really good at that most folks can't do?
Creative writing. I have a background in creative writing,
Nice.
which is great because I get to use some of that in my legal writing. I have to also use restraint, but it's nice to be able to put together the story that I need to tell to the parties so that they appreciate the decision I've made, but also to the Court of Appeals if somebody appeals what I've said. But that, that's something that a lot of people don't know, and it's something that I don't share all the time. I don't have much of an opportunity to share it as I used to.
Thank you for sharing. And the last thing I'm going to ask you to share is social media, your campaign website and the sitting judges. If you wouldn't mind just throwing them out here, please.
Absolutely. Mine is electjudgebibiberry.com. And the campaign site is electsittingjudgesmcs.com. And you can find information about all of the judges on mine or the campaign website.
Okay. And for the record, I have endorsed the sitting judges, as has every one of the 8 senators from Montgomery County. So we all believe in the principle of the sitting judges. So
I'm so proud of that. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Judge Berry, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much, Senator Kagan.
Of course.